Welcome everybody to our herbal cocktail class. As you can see, we've got a great visual to look at to start the class out with. We want to welcome back Cindy East, our in-house, out-house, out-of-house in Colorado cook today from cindyscouturekitchen.com. So today she's going to teach us about herbal cocktails. So take it away, Cindy.
Thank you, and welcome to my tiki bar. I guess I should turn the light on since it is open now. Can everybody
now,
see?
If I spotlight you, I'm
What's
sorry?
that? Did you say something?
No, I've spotlighted you, but it's still keeping up your PowerPoint, which we want.
Okay, so welcome everyone. I think I prefer the term out of house versus outhouse.
I corrected myself after I said it.
So, how many of you have been in any of my classes before? Well, welcome back. It's good to see you, Celeste. Good to see you. And how many people do we have in here today?
There's 11 right now.
Wow. So my classes are usually interactive for those of you who haven't been to one before. The background on me is I am retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, and I was stationed at Lackland. My mom lives in Spring Branch, Bulverde area, and I used to live in the downtown area of San Antonio and was stationed at Lackland for a number of years. And after I retired from the Air Force, I wanted to do something fun, and my latent artistic talents were just dying to go to culinary school. So that's what I did. And in culinary school, we did study wine and cocktails. But you know, I am certainly by no means a master bartender. I have never been a bartender. And I don't know if there's anybody out there who could raise their hand that has been a bartender, because that would be fabulous if we could, you know, pull some of that knowledge into this class. Anybody out there have any bartending experience?
Let me open up the chat.
How many of you?
Oh, Sue Murphy. Sue Murphy has.
Okay. Sue Murphy, where are you? I can't see your.
I don't know if she's got her camera on.
Camera.
So that was just in the chat, so she probably isn't able.
So Sue, can you unmute your audio? Because I would definitely like to have you contribute verbally.
Oh,
to
now
this.
she says she has.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, no, I have not.
Oh, you have not.
I have not, no.
Come on, Debbie. Come on.
Well, I said I have. So
Okay, getting back to where we were. If you have any experience or any ideas that, you know, percolate to your minds throughout this class, please speak up and share them with all of us, because I am a firm believer that, you know, we are more together than we are separately. So you can get a lot out of each other's separate knowledge, because I'm only one person here, but this is a learning process. Bartending for me, well, cocktails for me started when I was very young, age 5.
Whoa.
By eating the olives of my aunt and uncle's martinis, because they were the martini generation. And my uncle was a executive for Boeing. So he had those cocktail, you know, martini lunches. And so when we would go over to their house for parties, that was always my favorite thing, is getting to eat the olives. And that was my first taste of gin at 5. So,
Whoa.
However, I have come to the conclusion that the more you know, and, you know, I'm not a huge drinker or anything, but through the years, you know, my knowledge has accumulated, and going to culinary school, you know, you taste a lot of different things. And I think the best way to learn is by actually getting in there and experiencing and tasting and letting your senses experience the culinary arts. And that is, beverages are part of the culinary arts. So as you know, today, cocktails have gone sky high in terms of the limits. There are no limits on what you can do in that sphere. And there's cocktail competitions all over the world. I also went to Vegas Uncorked, which is kind of a amazing experience. If you ever get a chance to do Vegas Uncorked, it happens in the late spring, and all these master chefs as well as master bartenders and distillers, for example, Tito from Tito's Vodka was there. There's all kinds of people there, and you get to taste so many different cocktails. And for me, I really like to bring the garden into my kitchen. And the only thing that really I'm successful gardening with is herbs. Well, first of all, the deer eat everything up here. And if they don't, then the rabbits and the other rodents do. So, or the hail gets it or whatever. And I know in Texas, it's super hard too. So, but I've always had really good luck with herbs. And so I'm always trying to find new things to do with them. And I was so fortunate to go to this wildflower festival in Crested Butte, Colorado 2 years ago. And there's a woman there named Susan Evans. And she wrote this book, which I'm going to be referencing. And she is an herbologist. And she worked in gardening for a long time. So we're going to be using some of her cocktails in this class as well. They're modified. They're kind of, you know, I took them and adapted them to my own. And then the Quintessential Boston Bartender Guide is also a wonderful reference if you don't have any cocktail background. This book is great. Has classic cocktails to, you know, all the genres of cocktails. And then this book is by this guy right here, Ben Reed. And this is The Art of the Cocktail. And it's a book that I got for $1 at a library sale. So check out your library. Cha-ching. So those are the references that I'm using, plus, you know, my experience in culinary, you know, years of culinary practice. But as you know, the cocktail really started to pick up speed in the 1920s and 30s because of Prohibition. And it's funny because everybody, you know, by the time Prohibition ended, they had more than 100 speakeasies in New York City. Or was it 100,000 rather? Yeah,
It's a bit different.
100,000 speakeasies. So in that time frame when alcohol was outlawed, bartenders either went underground or they went to places like Cuba or Europe to ply their trade. And the cocktail's really taken off since then, as you know. So we're going to talk about a few things just to give you some background on. I don't know how many of you are familiar with bartending or the equipment, the styles and the techniques, etc. So we're going to go through just as a basic overview of some of those things, and we're going to work herbs into that mix. So the equipment, let's take a look at the equipment first. So this is just a kind of a, you know, a vintage photo of some of the things that people use. And I'm going to show you some of the things that I have as well. But I think in the in the handouts that you got before the class, there was a bar tools and toys and equipment list. So everybody hopefully has a jigger, and I have this handy little jigger, which actually has 3 different types of measurements on it, which is really cool because it has tablespoons, milliliters, and ounces. So this is really cool. And cocktail shakers come in all styles, as you can see over behind me. I have a penguin cocktail shaker here. So, and he pours out the little nose, his little beak spout rather. My husband got this one that is really cool. It's actually like for picnics and camping. So this one has a strainer in it. If you can see the strainer. This is kind of like a shot glass measurement. And then in here it has a juicer. And here's the strainer, better picture. And then it has 2 cups.
Wow.
Cool. And it all goes into the shaker, which is really neat and quite compact. And then I like this one though. This is my favorite. It's just a tiny little one. And I got it at a garage sale for $1. And again, it has a strainer in it. So this one makes really, really nice single drinks. It's not as heavy to shake for 20 seconds. And so that comes in really handy. I do not have a long handle cocktail stirring spoon, but I use this, if I need to stir a drink or make it in a container and stir it, I just use this. Or I use a knife or a spoon. So you don't have to have all the fancy equipment. Let's see what else. A muddler. This is really handy. If you don't have one, and it's wood, by the way, because you don't want to scratch your nice, beautiful cocktail glasses with metal. So a wood muddler is really nice. But if you don't have one, you can just use the back of a wooden spoon, and that works just fine too. This also is really handy, the citrus juicer of whatever sort you have. You don't have to have these things. You can just use the old-fashioned method of your hands. But this thing is really important when you need to do what's called a double strain. You have a strainer in here, but you also want to sometimes double strain it. So,
Hey, Cindy, I have a question. I've always wondered why on the Hawthorne strainer there's that spring or that coil of metal around that strainer. Do you know why? What it's
well, I
used
think
for?
it's just to keep all the heavy stuff away from going out the little holes in it.
Okay.
It could be a more technical reason than that. I don't know.
Okay. I've always wondered when, because I just have just like you have, I just have a plain strainer. And I wondered what the metal coil did.
I also like these measuring glasses, with measurements on them in case you need to juice the citrus into them. It just doesn't go all over the place. And then of course your bottle openers. This is the easy one, this one right here. And then this is the professional one that, your waiters and waitresses use. And then, of course, your ice, you need to have ice that is, well, actually, I'm going to have bar and paper towels, straws, swizzle, sticks, cocktail napkins, all of this stuff right here comes in handy. Straws, because you want to taste your drink. And then you want the cocktail, the little bamboo cocktail sticks, because you want to garnish your drink. And we'll talk about garnishes in a bit. And And of course, you need a small sauce pot for your simple syrups. How many of you made the simple syrups?
Me.
Anybody make the simple syrups besides me and Debbie?
I don't know. Let me see.
You did? Excellent. One person?
Maybe more.
Okay, good. Well, you're going to be amazed, I think, because, you know, you can buy mixers. We'll talk about mixers, but when you actually grow the herbs and make your own mixtures, it's amazing what it does. So also the glassware. Types of cocktail glasses. Can you all see over here behind me? Okay. So I have what's called a rocks glass. It's an old-fashioned or rocks glass right here. And it's used for drinks served on the rocks or short drinks over ice. Just basically short drinks over ice. And then we have, of course, the shot glass. We have different highball or Collins glasses for long drinks. This is another rocks glass.
Mm-hmm.
And then, which is which as far as this glass? What is this?
That's
for?
a stemless champagne. No, stemless wine.
What kind of wine?
Red.
No. See the difference?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So round, the shorter, fatter one is red wine.
Yes, that's correct. Why is that?
Give the air, wine a chance to air.
Aerate.
Yeah, it allows the wine to open up, get some oxygen. And also when you bring it to your nose, it's a fuller bodied wine. So it has more of a bouquet. So you have a larger glass bowl than for the white. And then you have your champagne. Of course, this is champagne. And I has anybody ever heard of, I think it's called corkscrew. You can get these chilled champagne glasses and other kind of glasses that stay chilled. It's really nice. And you can get your names on them. It's really neat. And then of course you have your beer and your specialty glasses like margaritas. And my husband and I went to a bacon and bourbon festival in Keystone. And we got these little mugs that you can hook on your backpack or whatever. And you get to taste all this different bourbon and bacon.
Great combination.
This one,
Beautiful things.
this one is can be used for a coupe or martinis even. And we're going to use this one later. It's beautiful glass. So that's kind of a range of glassware. And I didn't know we had so many, but we do. We inherited a lot from my husband's mother, so and they had lots of toys, so it was kind of fun actually. So a well-stocked bar is not just your glassware, but it's also these different types of alcohol. These are the workhorse alcohols right here, the top 5. So you got vodka, gin, whiskey, rum, and tequila. And we're going to talk about each of those because when you know more about the, the composition of each of these, you're more inclined to experiment with them and determine which goes well with, say, what you're having for your dinner menu or a party menu. So,
Bitters. We have some bitters in there.
and we're going to talk about the different mixers that you can use. And then along with glasses and alcohols and mixers, there's ice. And there's various ices to use with various drinks. So if you used, what would you use if you want a slow dilution rate? What kind of ice?
Ice cube.
Probably big ice, huh?
That's right. You could use something like Texas style ice,
There you
big
go.
cubes.
Wow.
Yeah, there's 6 of them to this. And so this kind of ice would dilute slowly, and it wouldn't take away the flavor of the drink, but it would still keep it chilled. It wouldn't dilute it. So these are really fun to get, these different ice cube trays. You can get them like in Vegas. There's a chef named Daniel Boulud. He's a French chef, and he apprenticed under Fernand Point, I believe, who is the father of Nouveau cuisine. Anyway, he had these ice cubes that were round, big and round, and they were flavored with
Oh my goodness.
a flavor of the simple syrup that
Right.
we're going to talk about. So that was a really neat idea and way to do that. And so this is like an example of how you would use these big cubes. See that?
Clear to us.
Just one ice cube, and this is a rocks glass, and this is kind of what you would use for an old fashioned drink
We're gonna make some old
on
fashioned.
your recipes.
We're gonna make cocktails, yes. Herbal cocktails.
Okay, so let's talk about the different alcohols. And first, and as one thing though, before I move from ice, some of you probably have had the same ice in your refrigerator or ice cube tray for a long time.
I know, I get the point.
Don't use it. Don't use it. It's bad because, you know, your drink's going to be flavored with the flavor of your freezer. So you want the ice to be clear, clean, and taste like water. So make sure, you know, you think about that with the ice that you use. And again, you have shaved and frozen and cracked as well as cubed. All right, so vodka.
Oh, look at
Our
that.
first alcohol that we're going to talk about. So it can be split into 2 different categories, Eastern and Western. And the Eastern, as you know, comes from Russia and Eastern Europe, and they drink it like coffee. It's paired with certain foods. It's used to keep you warm, and they drink it, and it's as much part of their culture as coffee is a part of ours. Vodka is called the humble alcohol because it is so, you know, it doesn't have a big flavor profile, because in the US, it's supposed to be odorless, tasteless, and colorless. That's not to say that all vodka is tasteless. And, but vodka became very popular because, as everyone knows, you cannot smell it on your breath. So it gained a huge following because of that. However, the neat thing about vodka is that it can take on whatever flavor you want it to. And we're gonna, well, I'm going to taste one of my amazing vodka creations in a bit, and I'll tell you more about that. But vodka is just more versatile than I ever imagined. And as you know, there's every flavor of vodka in the book that you can buy. However, you don't have to spend all that money. You can just like decide what flavors you want and make your own. So we're gonna talk about that in a bit. Gin, as I go through this, here is Tito's. This is the vodka that I used for infusing my vodka. And this guy was at Vegas and Corked, and it was really fun to meet him because he makes great vodka. And this is just really high quality. And then again, going back to vodka, this is Absolute Citron, which is one of my favorites because it has this lemon flavor. So again, if you're doing, say, Cosmopolitan or again, whatever kind of drink, if you like lemon or sour flavor more than sweet. This is a wonderful vodka. And then moving on, we have gin. And what's the most famous gin drink that you can think of? What are some gin drinks?
Gin and tonic.
Exactly. So, you know, gin and just a little tonic and maybe a squeeze of lime. There you have it. And if, like most alcohols, this was used and drunk as medicine. It was invented in 1600s by apothecaries in the Netherlands. And during the 30-year war with the Netherlands, the British and the Dutch were fighting, and the British noticed what they called Dutch courage, which was like a gin-induced daring of these Dutch soldiers. And anyways, the British soldiers brought it back to England because, again, it was first drunk as medicine and it made you feel better. So they brought the medicine back to England. And because in 1689, William of Orange and his English wife, Princess Mary, they came into, they acceded to the throne, and so they brought with them the distillation of gin to the UK, and that's why it's kind of known like it's from the UK, but it really started in the Netherlands. But what is the profile of gin? Anybody? I mean, different gins are totally different because they have again, they're distilled from grain and then they're reprocessed and redistilled with all kinds of botanicals. But they always contain juniper berries, so that's a main flavor in them. But you know, they have like over 30 or more botanicals in them that gives them this really, really nice herby, you know, fresh flavor. And I really like gin. Gin cocktails are really, really, really nice. So during Prohibition, because liquor was illegal, they made this moonshine, and also gin, which was called bathtub gin. And that's where the cocktail started, is because it was so vile to drink the stuff that bartenders started mixing it with fruit juices and, you know, all kinds of other mixers. And that was the start of the cocktail, which is basically the definition of a mixed drink. So, and it was in the Jazz Age, again, that in these speakeasies and that era that cocktails really took off. And then next we have whiskey, or is it bourbon? What's the difference? Anybody know? What's the difference between whiskey and bourbon?
Is it the type of barrel?
Nope.
No.
It's where it comes from.
That's right. And where does bourbon come from?
You gotta
Kentucky.
Not just Kentucky.
They have a lot of it.
Bourbon comes from
They do.
grain.
No,
Tennessee also.
It can come from Tennessee. Yeah. Very good. But there's 4 main regions of production of whiskey. And if it's Scotch, they don't use an E. They just spell it without the E, whiskey. If you look at how it's spelled, it's different than the Irish or the American. So if it's from Canada or Scotland, it is spelled W-H-I-S-K-Y. And by law, well, it started really, the Scotch were I think the Irish were the first to make whiskey, but the Scotch were the first to write the recipe down. And the difference is really in the way that they dry the malt. And the Scotch dry theirs over peat fires, and the Irish dry theirs in coal-fired kilns. So the Scotch is more smoky and different flavors as well. And American whiskey or bourbon is made with corn, because when the Scotch and Irish immigrated to America, they started distilling whiskey, but they used corn here because they found corn here. And in Europe, they used barley and rye and different grains that were, again, that's part of the terroir. If you've been in my French class, you know the word terroir and what that means. So anyway, 95% of the world's bourbon comes from Kentucky. And my husband and I happened to go on the tour of the distillery at Woodford Reserve, which is the official bourbon of the Kentucky Derby. And it's really good. And that's what they use for mint juleps. So, as well as old fashions. And then moving on. How many of you like rum? It used to be my favorite, but I'm expanding my palate. So rum is a really fun drink because it has a sweetness, usually the dark rums anyway. The light rums, and I have two examples here. It's made from sugarcane, which is usually found in the islands, and we have Bacardi and Cruzan. So light rums are traditionally produced in Spanish-speaking countries or islands, rather Puerto Rico. It is less sweet, it's drier, less intense than the ones that are produced. This is from St. Croix, Cruzan. And they come from the tropics, and they add caramel to it, and it has much more of an exotic, richer flavor that are used to make a lot of, you can use this to pour as what they call a float on top of your cocktail, or you can have it neat, which is, again, the slow, actually there's no ice, you just have it neat, but a lot of people think it's a little strong, so because it's 80 proof, which means 40% alcohol by volume, ABV. And anyways, this is more of a molassesy taste, a sweetness to it than this one. And this one can often be substituted for vodka or gin in different cocktails if you don't have the other two. So these, again, are workhorse, mostly this one, the light rum. And that's what we're going to use today for one of my favorite drinks. How many of you have ever had a mojito? Okay, Celeste. And what is your name, husband of Celeste?
Warren Pichon.
Warren. So what is your impression of a mojito?
I don't like sweet drinks like that. So,
I didn't like it either. I only had it once. I drank it, but I didn't care for it. I'm more of a margarita person.
Well, then maybe just don't add as much sugar or simple syrup into it, because
I didn't like it either. I mean, it's not my favorite. I don't know.
You can adjust the sweetness just like with any drink. So, yeah. But moving on. Last, we have tequila, which you in San Antonio are very familiar with, I assume. And personally, I like mezcal. I don't know how many of you have ever had mezcal, but I love it. And it's amazing if you add just a little bit of mezcal to your margaritas, it adds a smokiness that is amazing. And the thing with the worm is just, I've been to mezcal bars like in Santa Fe. Mezcal is huge. And of course, tequila comes from Mexico, mezcal as well. And tequila has 4 different types: silver, gold, rested, and aged. Reposado is rested, and añejo is aged. And, there's as many different brands of tequila as there are.
That's a good one.
You approve? It was a 2016 double gold winner in the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. So yeah, it's down to the dregs. And then we're not going to make any tequila drinks though, because one of them though that I highly recommend, that's one of my favorites, is at Boudreaux's. The prickly pear margarita is like, that's what we had at our wedding. Well, we went out on the river barge with Boudreaux's anyway. So and I was like, Mark, my husband and I, we love the prickly pear cactus margaritas. They are so beautiful and they're so good. Highly recommend. All right, so moving on, back to the well-stocked bar. We have things called herb liqueurs, bitters, orange liqueurs, cranberry juice, orange juice, and all these other mixers that you see down below. And oh, just one more thing about, well, the lingo of a bar. How many of you know what a well drink is?
Is that the just a basic label drink, not a brand?
It's what's used by the bartender when you don't have a call drink. So what's a call drink? Anybody know?
What's a call drink?
No, it's a well drink.
So the well drink is the house liquor, and it's usually a lower cost, more economical brand. So if you do not call the brand of alcohol, the bartender's they're gonna use the house liquor. So if you order a Captain and Coke, that's a call drink, because that's a Captain Morgan and Coke, or a Jack and Coke.
Right.
So that's a call drink. Then you have what's called premium liquors, and then you have top shelf. So the well drinks are at the bottom of, you know, if you go to a bar and you see all the liquor is stacked up to the behind the bartenders, all the way up to the top of the ceiling. The ones that they're having on display that are at the top are the top shelf, or the most expensive liquors. And the ones that are at the bottom are the well or the house liquor. Okay, so they're generally cheaper. So that's kind of some bar lingo for you guys to remember.
Vodka. Tequila too, but bourbon.
So let's talk now about balancing flavors, because the bulk of your drink should be made up of your base alcohol, whatever you're using for your drink, vodka, gin, whatever. But to balance the flavor, it's usually either with the addition of sweetening or souring agents. And the ratio is usually equal parts. 1 part sweet, 1 part sour, and you always want to use fresh juices. That's the other thing about when you make your own cocktails from scratch, which is what a bartender will do for you. And that's kind of why they have this amazing encyclopedic knowledge, as well as they use fresh. Usually it depends on the bar, but if they're a good bar, they will use fresh juices versus bottled. And drinks like margaritas, cosmopolitans, daiquiris are examples of balanced drinks. They have a little bit of sweet, a little bit of sour. And so they use that formula. And a lot of times, you know, people have their own preference. They prefer sweet, or like Celeste, you prefer sour, right? So yeah, you know, just remember that when you're making various drink recipes, is you add a little less sweet and a little more sour. So then you have what's called bitters. And a little goes a long way with these, but I kind of like more versus less. So like in my if my husband has an old fashioned, I like a lot of orange bitters. Now these are Angostura, which comes from Trinidad, and this is a secret recipe. And, but bitters are basically any combination of growing things, roots, bark, berries, herbs, And the orange bitters are usually from these really puckery oranges from Seville. And they're made from the dried orange peels. And then what are some liqueurs? What's the difference between a liquor and a liqueur?
Liqueur is normally sweet, but it's probably like syrup.
You're right. It is kind of synonymous. A liqueur is synonymous with like a cordial, and they can be mixed with brandy, or they're mixed and made by mixing, redistilling neutral spirits and adding fruit, flowers, herb seeds, and all that kind of stuff, plant juices, to which, again, a lot of sweetening agent has been added. So what are some examples of liqueurs?
There's
What's the orange liqueur?
there's a banana liqueur. I know that.
That's right. That's
Different
right.
flavors.
What else? How many of you know
Frangelica.
Cointreau? What is Cointreau?
Orange liquor.
Orange.
Yes, good job, Warren. 2 points for you and your team. Hey, Sean.
We drink a lot.
So yeah, this is an orange liqueur, and there's also Grand Marnier, but that's cognac based. So this one's a little bit more straight, pure orange, whereas Grand Marnier, you're going to get a little bit of a cognac flavor. But what are some other ones?
You have a Frangelica. I don't know how to say it. Frangelica, something like that?
That's right.
That's
And
an
what is
almond
the flavor
liqueur.
of that one?
It's an almond liquor, ain't it?
No, that's amaretto. I think you're thinking amaretto.
Cinnamon.
No, it's a hazelnut. Probably.
This one.
Is it hazelnut?
This is the almond amaretto.
That's what I said.
Frangelico is hazelnut. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're. Did you
Yeah,
say
she don't like
hazelnut?
hazelnuts.
Yeah, Frangelico is the monk. I think the monk, and the Frangelican monks, and that flavor is more hazelnut. This is more almond. What about Kahlua?
I don't like Kahlua.
What flavor is that?
Coffee.
Yeah. Like somebody I know used to drink that Kahlua and milk.
Isn't that a white Russian?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've tried it and I didn't like it.
This is one of the most amazing aperitif aperols. Is like a digestive liqueur, and you just add it to, like when we were in Italy, everybody drinks this as their cocktail.
What is it?
Aperol with Prosecco and a little splash of club soda. So good. And it's orange flavored. And then, of course, you have all of these things, your tonics, your sweet and sours. I've got tonic water with quinine here, tonic water with quinine here. This one's light. This one's 7-Up, lemon lime. Of course, Coca-Cola. But there's any number of these mixing agents. Like this one is a dry sparkling juniper water. It's piney, herbal, and refined. And I can't wait to drink and try this because,
So that must be kind of flowery.
well, it's kind of, it would be like gin, I'm going to try it. Just,
Okay.
I know. That's the fun of, being behind the bar and trying some of these things is, maybe this is not this bottle.
Where'd you find that one?
You can just find them at the grocery stores, or sometimes these little tiny liquor stores have mixers as well.
Yeah.
So there's all number of different mixers that have different, elements in them and affect their composition. So I'm just going to put it in a little shot glass. It's very fizzy, sparkling. water. It's pretty dry. It's not too sweet. So, I don't really taste a lot of juniper, really. I don't know. I would make my own again. This is where, because I love that kind of piney, amazing like forest smell, and that's part of all of these things is the aromatherapy of the herbs, and that's what I love. And so again, when you flavor cocktails, one of the main things that you sweeten them with is simple syrup. But why buy those things? Because you can buy simple syrups, you can buy all these mixers and all of that. But when you create your cocktail yourself and let the inner alchemist come out, you can make your own flavored simple syrups with herbs. And so that's what we're going to talk about next.
Awesome.
So infusing simple syrups with herbs. Why make them just like simple? That's kind of boring. Why not infuse them with something? So when
We have all those.
what is an infusion? Anybody know? How do you what happens with an infusion?
Do you just let it almost simmer, or either sit in it for a long time? Like if you're doing olive oil, you just let it, real low heat or whatever.
Well, that's more like confit,
Okay.
garlic confit, duck confit, all of that. But when you infuse herbs, basically herbs are, with the exception of rosemary here, if you look at, and then it depends on, like, say, bay leaf, you're not probably, I mean, any number of things goes into these, the process of making gin or even simple syrups. I mean, you can infuse it with all kinds of things. So, but the difference is that if you're going to use the delicate leaves or flowers or buds, berries, seeds of certain plants, are more delicate than others. For example, rosemary is,
Oh, strong.
It's very
yeah,
strong.
it has a lot of, stemmy and very fibrous leaves that are not as delicate as, say, basil or mint. So if you think about the difference about how when you make a tea infusion, it's just kind of like the same thing. You're basically letting the leaves and flowers
Extract.
basically sit in or steep in the hot water so that the enzymes, vitamins, and the essential oils, aren't overcooked and destroyed. So you basically bring the equal parts sugar and water to where the sugar is dissolved, and then you add your leaves.
Cindy, we have a question. Can you think of a non-sugar substitute for making simple sugar?
Stevia.
Okay.
Yeah. Just use stevia or
Monk fruit
Any
works too.
equal measure to sugar?
I have coconut sugar right here. I mean, there's all kinds of sugars as well.
There's
So,
agave syrup.
right. There's agave, there's honey. And for the first cocktail we're going to make, it's made with a honey simple syrup, honey lavender, actually. So if you got the recipe, you'll see that it has honey lavender simple syrup. So I'm going to organize this. All right. So decoctions are made from something like that's fibrous or woody, like rosemary. So I suggested you cut that up. And when you look at mine, I strained most of I put them in glass mason jars, but you can see that there's some rosemary still in there. And I'll have to strain that out. But this is my rosemary simple syrup, and I always put the date That's habit from culinary training background. Because you want to know when this was made. And you store it in the refrigerator. Up to 3 weeks. But if you're coming to the end of the 3 weeks and you still got this much, I would make ice cubes out of it and then use it that way.
That's a good idea.
So the difference between an infusion and a decoction is that, you know, you actually simmer the decoction, but you steep the infusion. So, for all the cocktails, we, you know, join in the making of the cocktails. So, moving on to the different methods or techniques, some of these are, you know, pretty self-explanatory. The famous line, shaken, not stirred, from James Bond. He liked his martinis shaken, not stirred. So anyway, the difference is shaken is when you need it to become very, very cold. And of course, stirred is you either stir it in the drink and you build the cocktail in the glass and then stir it, or you stir it in one of those pitchers like I have here and then pour it into the glass. So neat, what does that mean?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No ice.
That's probably why you're in this class.
You have to wear press pants while you're making it. That's what it.
Yeah, so neat is just poured from the glass. I mean, poured from the actual
Bottle.
alcohol into the glass, and it's drank just that way with nothing else. So that's a technique of you know, making a drink.
Yeah.
Frozen, I didn't have you making any frozen recipes because I wasn't sure everybody had a blender, but of course daiquiris and margaritas, frozen margaritas, lots of frozen drinks are very, very easy because all you do is add everything to the blender and then whip it up and pour it into your chilled cocktail glass.
That's my favorite.
But you want to make sure your glass is chilled as well, because if it's not, then again, that ice is going to melt really fast because it's not like a big cube that dilutes slowly. And then layering is a really neat one. Anybody ever have a B52? Well, layering is where you actually have, say, a glass like this, and then you have like layers of different alcohols.
Right.
And they're not mixed together at all. But the idea is that you see all the different ones separately.
It's sort of the same thing like you're doing with Guinness and ale. Like
A black and tan?
Yes. Similar.
Yeah, exactly. A B52 is made that way. And you put the heaviest, like Kahlua, the alcohol that has the most sugar is the heaviest. So that's going to go at the bottom. And then using the back of a spoon, you pour the drink down the stem of the spoon into touching the next alcohol, and then you layer it on up to the lightest, less sugary component. And that's layering. And then muddling, again, is what we're going to do with our little muddler to make the mojito. Because you build that drink. That's also really easy because you build it right in the glass. So then there's the final step, which is garnishes. Cocktail umbrella or fruit? Not necessarily. Like you wouldn't want to put a cocktail umbrella or fruit on an old fashioned. That would be so, so bad form. Very, very bad form. So it has to, again, reflect the components of the drink and the aesthetics and the taste of the drink. And you only, again, that's the last thing you do. So what are some types of garnishes that you've come across in your sipping cocktail life?
Mint.
Pineapple.
Okay, and how have they used the pineapple?
I had it, somebody served it on a,
Yeah, avocados.
yeah, but I think it was on a pina colada.
Like on a toothpick?
Yeah, on toothpick.
So
There's something else.
there's different ways of garnishing, and like, for example, the margarita. How do you garnish the margarita?
Twist of lime with the lime on the end, on the glass, and the salt and the sweet.
Okay, so the frosting or the rimming of the glass with, how do you do that? Anybody know how you do that?
You put the citrus, the juice, if you're gonna use lime, then put the salt or sugar at the bottom and just dip the glass in there. Or take the lime and swirl it around the glass and dip it into
Right. You rim the glass with the lime, and then you dip it in whatever you're going to dip it in, whether it's, you know, a salt and spice, or a sugar, salt and spice, or crushed candies.
Jolly Ranchers, yeah.
You know, there's so many different ways of rimming a glass these days. And the prickly pear margarita is a wonderful example of that. They use this chipotle chili powder mixed with salt and some, maybe a little bit of sugar. I'm not sure, but that garnish, it's just like yummy. You want to eat that first. I mean, you want to have some of that with every sip of your margarita. It's so good.
Yeah.
So they add color and flavor because it's a beautiful presentation of the rim.
One way to do it, Cindy, also is to have a little plate and then just pour some simple syrup on that plate and then turn your cup over into that, and then you can go into your sugars.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Now, as far as like, usually the typical garnishes are lemons, limes, and oranges. So what would you do with those?
slice them and cut into it, one little piece.
Mhm.
Stick it on there.
And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking the rind off. It's got to be without pith, but still somewhat thick. So
Usually after the lemon is squeezed and then thrown into the drink.
That's a sad thing.
this is the size that you'd use for an old fashioned. And
That's pretty big.
you rim the glass with the orange, which has essential oils in it. And then if you really want to be dramatic and theatrical, you could flame it, which, because, you know, the orange expresses oil, it's going to flame over the drink. You want to point it down at the drink and then light a match. And then you'll see, as you squeeze it, it will express the oils, which will have this amazing reaction and go. It's really fun if it's low lights. So, and then the orange, the smell is amazing, you know, it's just really nice. So it adds the aromatic component as well. So what are we making first here, people? We're going to make a lavender bee's knees. And what does the bee's knees mean? Anybody know? It means the best. And it came from, it's the bee's knees. It means it's the best. So lavender bee's knees uses, in my recipe, lavender honey simple syrup. So anybody make that?
I've got the lavender simple syrup.
We've never made it, but I tell you what, just by the ingredients, I'm willing to try it.
So if you made them separately, which I did because sometimes you don't want lavender and everything. So I'm just going to do a little of each. But the first thing you want to do is add your ingredients to the shaker and then fill your shaker with ice. So I'm going to measure out. I have my lemon, which I need to squeeze here. And I need 1 ounce of that. So I don't know if you can see this, but can you see that? You can see my lemon and all of that. So first I'm going to squeeze my lemon into the shaker. And this shaker's got a large enough mouth that it's, and then I'm going to, you know, estimate it's about 1 ounce.
Measurement wise, about how many tablespoons would 1 ounce be?
1 tablespoon is 0.5 ounces.
Okay, so 2 tablespoons.
And again, if you don't like it as, you know, sour, then add a little bit more simple syrup. So I'm going to squeeze the whole thing. And actually, I'm going to do it in a little measuring cup. Because I got a pit and I have to strain that out. Okay, so another thing that's really handy is a garbage bowl. It comes in really handy. So I've got 1 ounce of lemon juice, which is the second line for me. Can you see that? I like it on a little on the puckery side, so I'm just going to add a couple drops more. All right, so I got that. That's going in. And then I've got 1 ounce of lavender honey simple syrup. So I'm going to just take a little bit of this. Maybe a little more of this. There. And my honey. And this adds a really kind of a nice, you know, with everything at the peak of its, you know, life in the summertime, it's so nice to have these honey drinks. I like the flavor of the honey, and it adds a nice little, kind of almost a little foam on the top. So that's 1 ounce of my lavender honey simple syrup mixed together, basically. And that goes in my shaker. And then I'm using Hendrick's, which has a really nice botanical flavor. But there's so many different types of gin. This is a British gin. So it's 2 ounces, which is, if you can see the measurement line, it's like 1 down from the top. That was maybe a little too much. No worries, I'll just pour it back. All right. All right, now I'm going to add ice. And I have my ice here. I'm going to add ice to my shaker. And then you want to shake it for about 20 seconds till your hands hurt. Or actually, they're not going to hurt. They're just, it's going to be really cold because you want this really cold. Okay, so. And for your entertainment. All right. And I'm talking cold. Ooh. My glass. All right, that's about 20 seconds and it's very, very cold. And you want a stemmed glass for this because you're straining out all the ice. And so you don't want it to warm up by holding it. So there it is, but the last thing is the garnish, and you just want to garnish it with some beautiful rosemary. Can you see that? Isn't that pretty? And that is your bee's knees, lavender bee's knees. And I grew this lavender, so I like to find out, you know, the uses for it. And it's so pretty. This is such a pretty drink, I think.
It is. It's beautiful.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you say you put an ounce of lavender honey simple syrup and an ounce of honey?
No, I basically did half an ounce of each.
So a half ounce of honey and a half ounce of
So if I was to do all lavender simple syrup, it would bring on a heavier lavender taste, which, you know, I like. And then if you want, you can add a splash of club soda. But personally, I like kind of sour puckery drinks, and that's really refreshing, I think.
so you use lavender syrup, then, huh?
Say again, Warren?
Well, you just use lavender syrup? That's what you use? I didn't understand.
Lavender honey simple syrup. So the recipe is basically 1 cup honey, 1 cup water, and 2 tablespoons of lavender buds or dried lavender.
You know, you bought some lavender.
And you just, again, you steep it for like a half hour and let those lavender buds infuse their essential oils into that honey water. What do you think, Debbie? I can't hear you.
You're on mute. She's muted. There you go.
So I made a virgin version of it, but the nice thing I like about having the lavender in the glass is that when you put your nose in, you smell the lavender.
Exactly.
And I just did mine with the lemon juice and the lavender honey simple syrup, and then did lemon lime mineral water.
You also add a splash of
So that was refreshing, and it's a non-alcohol version.
Right. So if you wanted to omit the gin, you can. And just, you can make it with lemonade. You can make it, you know, for a summer drink. It's delicious with just the lavender honey simple syrup. So what are some other infusions that you can think of? I mean, I just gave you 4. What are some others that you can think of?
Well, you can do lemon verbena, would be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Cindy, I have a question.
Share that with. I'm sorry, what was that?
I have a question about the glass. Did you garnish the glass with no, with the sugar or the salt?
I did not.
Did not.
But,
Okay.
but you see how that is garnished there. I put that in there just so you could see. I mean, you could take it to another level by doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I apologize. Could you repeat the lavender honey and simple syrup part once more?
Sure. For the recipe, which you all got, right?
Yes.
I
Okay.
sent the recipes out this morning.
Oh,
So
yeah.
looks like I might need to send it to Sue. If you didn't get it, put it in the chat section and I will send it to you, to everybody. But I did send it out generically this morning.
So, so the simple syrup for the lavender honey is 1 cup honey. You don't add sugar to it because it's a honey simple syrup. So it's 1 cup honey, 1 cup water, and 2 tablespoons lavender buds. So you basically make the honey syrup first, then you bring it together, at a high temperature, well, to where it's hot, and the honey becomes like a very viscous, like water.
I see we purchased lavender infused honey before,
But you make it
as
yourself.
is.
Yeah.
This is stronger though, the lavender.
Okay.
And that you can experiment because there's all kinds of honey too.
Yes.
There's huckleberry honey. There's all kinds of different flavors of honey these days as well. So that's another fun thing to try is, do different kinds of honey. So now I was going to make, which one I'll make 2 more drinks. So out of the recipes, which one do you want me to make? Well, actually,
do the rosemary one because I think that's fantastic. It's really interesting, but I also have the blueberry one already to go too. So
yeah.
either one.
So for the smoked rosemary, I'm going to do a rocks version of this versus the gimlet. You can make a gimlet version, but we already saw what the gimlet looks like. The glass is the same as the one I just used for that. Now for the smoked roast, do you want me to do the smoked version or the non-smoked version?
Oh, sure. I mean, I smoked mine. Does it dissipate after a few minutes?
So, what method did you use to smoke yours, Debbie?
I flamed it on the gas burner till it was on fire, and then put it on a plate and put the glass over it until it got filled with smoke.
Okay, here we go.
So I'm going to do a different. What kind of glass did you use, Debbie?
This kind,
A rocks.
rock glass.
Yeah, so that's,
Oh yeah, you can smell it.
yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm going to use too, because I just think you could use it. The gimlet is for the non-smoked version really, but I'm going to make the smoked version. And so to do that, first I'm going to put my elements into my cocktail shaker. So someone tell me, what all do I need?
3/4 ounce freshly squeezed lime juice.
Okay, so I got my lime juice here. Again, my mise en place, for those of you who took my French class. All ready, and it's fresh squeezed lime juice. So I have 3/4 ounce of that. So I'm going to find my ounces and go right below that line. Okay. So I got 3/4 ounce lime juice. What else?
3/4 ounce rosemary simple syrup.
Okay. Same with the simple syrup. This is so good. I love the smell of it. Don't you love the smell of the simple syrup? I just love the smell of rosemary. It's just like you're in a forest of pine trees in the summer that have all that oil that's in the air. It's really nice. So 3/4 ounce of that.
It's right there, baby.
Okay, good.
And rosemary is all over Texas, so you guys can get that anywhere. Don't even have to worry about growing it.
So 2-ounce gin and 2-ounce tonic water.
Okay. Okay, so I don't want the tonic water in the shaker though, do I? No, that would be bad.
Why?
Why do I not want to put that in the shaker?
It's fizzy.
Oh.
Like champagne.
It will pop.
Yeah. I can see. So my gin. Again, it's a gin drink. We're drinking a lot of gin today.
What kind of gin you're using?
Hendrix.
Hendrix. Hendrix?
Hendrix.
Very nice and botanical, very smooth.
Hendrix? That's Hendrix.
Hendrix.
So I've got that all ready to go. And now I have my, yeah, I don't know, you guys can tell me if you like tonic water or club soda better. Again, it's a taste test. So I have that ready. And I have my little, and
So I learned the difference is just the salt, right? Like club soda, one of them has salt and one doesn't. Is that right?
well, I think club soda is sweeter.
Oh.
These are my rosemary sprigs, and I have a little contraption here. So now, just in case, best laid out plans fail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and start my piece of wood on fire here. And I'm going to get my rocks glass ready to go. And what I'm going to do is put my rocks glass over that, okay? Actually, I'm going to use this one. I can smell it already, actually. Nope, sticking with this one. Now, Julia Child said every woman should own a blowtorch. So just keep that in mind. Oh, it is smoking. So I'm going to try and light this on fire. There it goes a little bit. And capture some of that smoke. And like Debbie was doing, she has a gas flame. That's probably the easiest way to do it. But oh, I just got a really good whiff of that rosemary. And you can see it's kind of going into the glass. So I'm just going to let it hang out there while I shake my drink. And it's kind of fogging the glass up. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now and I want some ice in here, so I'm gonna just add a couple cubes. And I can smell the rosemary in there. It's nice.
Hey, Cindy.
Yeah.
Can you stop sharing your PowerPoint so that we can see your screen big? Or do we need to, do you need to keep your PowerPoint up?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna garnish it with a sprig of rosemary. Can you all see that? And that is the smoked rosemary gimlet, or the rocks. Smoked rosemary gin drink. And It is amazing when you take a sip of this and you can smell the smoke and the rosemary at the same time. It's really good.
Hey, Cindy, the
That is great.
both the rosemary drink and the bee's knees. Did you get both of those recipes from the recipe alcohol book that you found in the library?
No, that book is no, I adapted these from different sources. So
I see.
the smoked rosemary gimlet, it really came from David Lebovitz, who is a pastry chef. and he lives in Paris. And he has a blog. So
I see. Okay.
I added the smoked part.
Yes, yes.
I think smoked drinks are cool. So anyways, that's kind of, I started with his base, you know, of where he went with the gimlet. And then I added the smoke.
Mhm.
And so moving on, let's talk about alcohol. Well, there's a couple others. The mojito, as you know, is I don't know if this is an easy one that I think you guys can do at home without me demonstrating, because all you do is build it in the glass. And you would use a glass that's like a tall glass like this, and just add the ingredients, making sure you, first of all, start with the mint leaves at the bottom. Then you add your lime wedges, and then your sugar cube, and you muddle it. So you muddle all of those things together. You don't want to make it a vegetal mix, you know, to just totally destroy. It just needs a little bit of muddling to get the juices and all the oils and, you know, from the lime as well as the mint. They both have oil, and you just want to kind of muddle it so that oil is released. But you don't want to make a, you know, totally mush out of the leaves or anything. And then the sugar cube helps you muddle and break down the oils. Then you add all the rest of the ingredients and stir it, and that's it. That's the mojito, and it is so refreshing. I love mojitos. So moving on.
We have one question from the previous one. What kind of wood did you use to smoke the rosemary?
I used a wood chip from our smoker selection.
It was a hardwood chip.
Yeah, my husband's a huge, you know, loves to smoke food, and we have every kind of wood chip that you can imagine. So this one was pecan. So,
Okay.
but there's applewood, there's cherry, there's, you know, all kinds. And so that'd be kind of fun to experiment with as well.
Home Depot has all those in bags.
Again?
Yeah, Home Depot has them all in bags.
Exactly, exactly.
They don't like, they're not expensive either. They're very cheap.
Yeah, and they're so good. I just absolutely love them. So now, this is the kind of the fleur de lis of the class, because this drink is something you have to try this at home. It's not like, don't try this at home. I want you to try this at home. I really think you really need to do this to see how amazing it is. So the recipe that I'm doing is the blueberry basil smash. And that is blueberry infused vodka that I started with a cup of blueberries and about 2 cups of vodka because I wanted more blueberry-ish. And then I let that infuse for about 10 days, and I shook it every couple days. And I put it in a dark place. Well, I put it in the fridge. If it's got fruit in it, you want to put it in the fridge. But again, the alcohol is going to help preserve it. So I've known bars that put, you know, things like pineapple and rum, and they let it sit out on the counter. So it just depends on the proof of the alcohol as well. But I use Tito's vodka, and then after about 12 days, I added basil. And so that is my blueberry basil infused alcohol. And I'm just going to add simple syrup to that and use that with the cocktail that I'm going to make, which is the blueberry basil smash. So I'll make that for you now. And that, you all have the recipe for that, right?
Okay. I'm gonna check.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so this is my blueberry basil infused vodka. And again, I dated it 9 July. So today is the 22nd. So it's been, macerating here in this vodka for Tito's vodka for almost a little over 2 weeks. Well, almost 2 weeks actually. So what I'm going to do is, and you can make the blueberry simple syrup as well, but I'm just going to use the honey simple syrup. And I need 1/2 of a lemon. And I'm going to squeeze that into a shaker. I'll let you see what I'm doing here. And then I need 2 ounces blueberry infused vodka. Ooh, that's squirting me in the wrong, it's going in the wrong direction. Okay, so I got my lemon in there.
Right here. Blueberry.
Then I need my 2 ounces of vodka. And this is so pretty, this drink. And you can see it has the basil in there. See the basil? And the smell is so good. It is so good. So 2 ounces of that.
Those 4 ounces?
I'm going to send it to you in a second, baby.
No, it's just 2 ounces of the blueberry vodka, blueberry basil vodka.
2 ounces of blueberry infused vodka.
Okay.
But that's the cocktail that she's making.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I have got I squeezed it into this, and I'm going to measure 2 ounces. About right. And add that. And I'll pour the rest back. And then I need a little simple syrup, 1 ounce. So I'm going to get my honey syrup. And that's 1 ounce. Pour that in. And then I'm going to add ice. Again, shake for 20 seconds.
Yeah, how much? I know, some We'll get rid of them.
Okay. The color on this is so pretty. I just love it. I think it's beautiful. So we've got the rocks glass. It's got a big cube of ice in there. What else do we need? We need a garnish. So I'm going to garnish it with what's in the drink, blueberries and basil. So it's called a smash because what you do with the basil, which one do you like better? This basil or this basil? The green or the purple?
Purple.
No green.
Well, what you do is you just smash it or like that to release. It smells so good. And then you just put it in there along with, I'm going to add some blueberries. And my blueberries, I'm going to put on a toothpick and just kind of rest it on the rim of the glass. So here's my blueberry garnish. And I'm just going to rest it like so. And there you have it.